evaluation that the department has done with it.
You can ride a trestle, but you can't roll your
Well, I
Just
can
to
barely
see if
ride
you have any
So that's
concern
what
with
the
that.
3 of the block.
Yeah, you know what happens
Yeah.
if you break your
So
hip.
that's
It's all downhill from there.
Yeah, exactly.
Reviews, see whether you want to.
I don't know if I can burn out my
the
house, I'll
supervisor's
make a 5 day
recommendation.
cookie that night, but that
Oh.
day for it, so.
We'll call this meeting to order, January 15th, 2019 at City Hall, 7 p.m. Are there any additions to the agenda this evening?
Do I need to change my executive session to attorney-client privilege?
Oh, the one that's all listed.
Do it.
Yeah.
So just change, like, since it's a change? Because I have an executive session, I just need it to be attorney-client.
It would, because it would be amending the.
Okay.
And then I also need to add a 5-minute attorney executive.
Okay, 5-minute executive session for attorney-client privilege for Jim. Any other additions? Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second. Bryant Sanders, any other discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Carries 5-0. Any citizens' comments this evening? Okay, move on to consent agenda. Approved minutes of the regular council meeting January 2nd, 2019. Also appropriation ordinance 1-15-19 in the amount of $58,080.02. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second. Bryant and Sanders. Any other discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Carries 5-0.
Yes.
Department head committee reports. Lisa Cornwell.
We got the TEAP study back that we did last March, and did you guys all read that, or you need it summarized? The, you know, if you were on the council when we did the study, it was because Mr. Meyer was concerned that someone may get hit the way the kids run in and out of the traffic over there in front of the library. And so their recommendation, TEAP's recommendation was, well, I guess to begin with, we thought about making that one way, and we wanted to get professional to tell us what was the right thing to do. And so basically they said to make it the diagonal parking on the south side of the street that's now on the north side of the street, make that a larger pickup area, and change a bunch of signs, and also change some crosswalks. And so they were wanting to remove the existing stop sign at 4th and Monroe, 5th and Broadway, and 6th and Broadway. And they wanted to leave the parallel parking in front of the library on both sides of the street and keep that 2 ways. And then I think the other big thing they wanted to do was install a curb extension and make the sidewalk better on the east side of Monroe, between 4th and 5th Street, like Fredel Zimmerman House, and make a 5-foot sidewalk from the library down to the existing sidewalk, so kids wouldn't be walking in the street and be protected to go to the roller skating rink. So, are there questions? Is that a good enough summary for you? There are a bunch of additional signs they'd like taken down, updated. I think it was Exhibit 2A had those signs that you can see which ones they'd like removed and new ones put up. This would be under our Safe Routes to School. You said you didn't want to do the whole plan because it was too expensive, or we'd revisit it in May. But if we didn't want to do that plan and we wanted to do this, we could do 80-20 of the one sidewalk or anything we need around the school, with the signage being 80-20 too, instead of having that pick up yourself. So just a thought. You guys have questions, or?
Thought it all looked pretty good. Yeah.
Josh, what were your thoughts?
They didn't address the one-way situation. You know, the diagram they have laid out with that drop-off lane where the current angled parking is and moving the angled parking, they still have two-way traffic. I'm not sure that there's room for all that. They were pretty confident that there was with their measurements, but I'd like to ask them about if that would be one way. through there. And then you could have angled parking right in front of the library too, that would add some parking. I don't know that the one-way is necessary, but, you know, the current issues now, if you've seen it, we'll have parents stop in the street and their kids will walk across the street, across the lane of traffic and get in. And, it's not super dangerous over there, but that's a danger. We haven't had an accident. I just don't want one.
Right.
But I like the plan they have laid out there. The four-way stops, I mean, as a citizen, they get in the way. But from a school safety standpoint, when kids are leaving and coming to school, it's nice to have that. But you're talking half hour in the morning and a half hour in the afternoon on school days. There's a lot more time that traffic is flowing where that's not an issue. But, so I support pretty much everything they have there. We have our kids walk to the skating rink or to the annex from the school or for the after-school program, and they cross that crosswalk that goes to the gutter, and then they walk down the street. It would be nice to have a sidewalk there.
Jeff,
But
when you mentioned the sidewalk going south from 4th Street to 3rd Street, where they said the sidewalk out in the street because of the elevations of the property on the west side of the street, are there drainages there that would be interfered with
I don't,
No,
in the
it's-
gutter?
there's
surf-
nothing on the west side.
Surface drainage
Is
is what it
there
is.
surface
So,
drainage,
yeah.
just no underground?
The only underground would be
Storm
coming
sewer.
off of the northeast corner of the skating rink. There's a great lays there that covers that the water drains into off of the roof is all.
So logistically, would there be an issue?
No, just the height of the yard more or less than
Yeah,
anything.
but they're moving
you
it
know.
out into the street, not into the yard.
Well,
So
yeah, then it wouldn't be a problem, I don't think. I don't see a problem with it.
Who did this exactly, the study? I mean, did we have guys that came out here and looked at it? Some,
Yeah, they counted the cars, they counted the kids.
what, I mean, were they like engineers at all? I'm sure they would have considered that whenever they drew this out. That's why I'm wondering, like, who, if, like,
Yeah, it
an
was
extra-
done by the Kansas Department of Transportation and their engineers out of Kansas City, Jim Stanley.
so I just assumed that it'd probably be taken care of. I mean, if they seen an issue.
Well, we did have engineers design the sidewalk to nowhere that put it next to oak trees.
Okay. So I am understanding that the grant that you looked up, the safe routes to school, like both the sidewalk and the whole deal, signs and all that would be covered under that?
We would just have to go back and have them give us a new bid on a different
Mhm.
project instead of the ones that Sid came up with before.
Okay.
What was the cost share, Lisa?
It was 80/20,
80/20, so we're still
20%.
20%.
But we're talking 20% of sidewalk for a block and maybe a little bit up around the school rather than
And some signs.
16, 17 blocks of sidewalk. We might be able to afford 20% of a block of sidewalk better than we can 16 or 17.
Well, and signage isn't gonna be,
Well, that's the other thing. They said
$100
something
bucks.
about funding through the Bureau of Transportation on the signs too in this. That might be something to look into if they're willing to. It said everything but exclusively for the materials and not the installation, which,
They
We got-
usually give us the signs and not the poles and installation. That's what historically they've done.
and I don't know what, I guess we could look at it and see. I'm all for doing what they recommend. I've looked at it, if it works for the school and it's safe for the kids, safer for the kids, I'm not against it.
And the signs need updated, most of them
And they do.
And they go to a high visibility sign,
And I know that's just a 20-mile-an-hour speed limit in through there is that all day long, right around the school?
During
that
school
light-
hours.
I don't know
Like
about the
the-
school, but like on 4th Street in the business district, it's 20 mile an hour anyway. But we just started a block early down at Pearl instead of at Monroe for the benefit of the kids, but the light goes on and off, but, you know, I guess.
But that's just, is that during school hours?
Yes,
I think it's more during passing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like when school,
Yeah, I think it's just in the morning and then again in the afternoon,
it flashes all day long,
does it?
yes. Till 4 o'clock or 4:15, somewhere in there.
I never paid attention to what the
Yeah.
sign actually said. I see
I
that.
thought it was just when you go in and out of school. You said you looked at it, Jim?
And technically, by state law, anytime that sign is flashing, law enforcement can enforce the 20-mile-per-hour speed zone.
I didn't know if there was the law allowed for like a temporary four-way stop. They mentioned removing all those four-way stops and making them two-way.
And last time I looked at one of the STO books or something like that, is if that was the recommendation, the police chief has that ability to order signs put up wherever we need to make it safe for them. So I definitely would not have a problem, whatever the school wants and the recommendation to make it safer and stuff, so we can look into that.
It would make more sense to me if it was one way, the traffic flowing north and going east.
On Monroe and Bend.
Monroe and Fifth. That's the way I assumed it was, but it doesn't look like there'd be room for 2 lanes. I think it looks pretty good.
Could a person decrease the speed limit during morning and after school?
For school areas, sure.
Yeah, you could drop it down to
Yeah.
10 miles per hour if you wanted to.
You know, I mean, just, if you're talking about taking out, doing their recommendations and taking out the four-way stops, I mean, if you put that speed limit down to 10 mile an hour,
They have
I mean-
provisions for those during certain times, some of these do.
but I mean, if you made it from 7:30 in the morning to, or even 7 to 9 in the morning, and
Yeah. And then-
2:30 to 4
Yeah,
o'clock
sure.
or whatever,
Sure. Yeah, they've got signs
I mean,
like that in here on
just
some of those places.
just an extra deal to slow them down. I mean,
Yeah.
I can tell you that I drive 4th Street a lot, right by the library and everything, and in the middle of the day, you're stopping for nobody,
Yeah.
east and west, and
Yeah.
if you go north and south, it's the same way on Broadway.
Yeah.
I mean, you spend a lot of time stopping for
Yeah.
Jeff,
3
You can
seconds.
regulate the
Yeah.
speed of that during
do
times.
you have any idea what those signs cost, like the one we have at
You know,
Jill's
we
house?
have, we built that one. That's not a factory sign. We built that one especially for that. But if you
Well, 'cause I
buy
know
those
it's
that
been-
have the lights
I
like
know it's
this,
been replaced.
oh yeah, we've replaced it a couple of times over the years.
Yeah.
But the ones that flash like this during, you know, like the kids can push and things like that, they're fairly expensive. I'm gonna say $2,500, $3,000.
Sure.
But if you go by some of the recommendations from just what I've read in here, they do have some time frames on some of these signs that you have in a school area that, you know, during, say, like Marshall said, from 7:15 to 9 a.m. and then from 2:30 to 4 p.m. like that, you know. So I think you can jockey these signs a little bit to make them work for you, to where you can slow them down and still remove those stop signs. Like where you say you don't stop people, you know, nobody there in the middle of the day. But still during school hours, that the speed limit would be such, then I think it would be enforceable.
I think, and I can't even think if I've seen one, but if there could be something similar to the yellow light, where it'd turn on at a certain time, where it could be a red light, where when it turned on, it'd be a stop, and then if it would shut off.
I think on the standard code, I don't believe you can do it legally.
Okay.
I think you can a caution light, but not a stop.
Right.
Because it can't be a part-time stop and go.
All of Pratt's at midnight go.
They go to caution.
but
Yeah.
they're flashing.
Caution one way,
Right, stop
flashing
the other.
stoplight the other
Yeah.
way.
Well, if we could do that, if it was yellow when the kids are not in school, and then when they come out of school, if it could turn to red. Because like you're saying, I did see that in Pratt the other day.
Yeah,
The
you
truckers
can
don't
do it
stop
that
at all.
way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just go right through.
Well, I mean, I think we're on the same page as far as wanting to proceed, aren't we?
I just have to look up some, some signage and see what it costs and report back to you, because I really do not, I know some of it's fairly expensive, but
Sure.
we could investigate on it and see.
I think the whole plan is, it's pretty solid. I think I agree with it. If maybe you, Jeff, you could get some more information regarding those.
I'll do that.
Go a long way with that.
Okay?
Lisa, what do you need from us this time? As far as maybe getting with, as far as our safe routes to school,
If you want me to.
right, to
have-
pursue that as far as this plan goes?
Yes, I can have Sid draw that up for us. Well, he'd take this and
Sure.
put numbers to it. Would
Right.
you like me to do that?
Council okay with that?
Yes, yeah.
The only thing I might question is, I wonder if they would pay their percentage if we alter the signage that's here. They might not pay a percentage on something. Now, the signs that they recommended, they would, I think, but something
Well,
that
but
we alter.
if we do additional on top
Yeah.
of what they've recommended,
They
then that would
probably
be out
wouldn't
of our
pay their
pocket.
share.
Yeah. Right, but if we do everything they said, they'll pay.
You know, I
If we
wouldn't,
wanna do
I
additional.
wouldn't be opposed to putting the yellow and red ones at Monroe and Fourth and one at Fifth and Broadway. You know, to where, like during school time, it's a stop sign, but then throughout the rest of the day, it's a yield sign,
Just a caution.
a
and
caution
yield.
sign. At those two intersections, I don't know how much we needed it. I mean, on the north side of the school, it seems like it's a lot of high school kids and they're typically parking as close as they can and,
Yeah.
Right.
but
I don't
down
even know
around
if the
the,
stop, I don't even know if the stop sign, the whole adding, I mean, we've got stop signs there already. If you're wanting to take it temporary, then it's just coming down to convenience. I mean, either you need the stop sign there or you don't. I don't think changing it, I mean, nobody even stops at the damn stop signs anyway, and I've been complaining about that for the last year.
If you have your
So-
speed areas through those school zones, I think you could control a lot of it maybe
Right, so
without
I
doing
think if
that.
you
then
just
you
got
might
some.
be able to.
I
even
know,
if
I
you just-
noticed the other day, I was in Great Bend and I cut through to go to Stanions and kinda on the off streets and went by one of the schools, and they were set up kinda like that, but no stoplights or no stop signs, just the flash in the area where the school zone was and then straight through it, so, I don't know. Be your choice, I'll get you some prices and you see what you like and we can go from there, so.
It's probably cheaper to put a 10-mile-an-hour sign up than
We
it
had
is a flashing
stoplights, we
sign.
had stoplights up here at Fifth and Sixth for years.
Would be
When I
my
first came
guess.
to work, and we took them down after they finally just wore out. But they would be on part of the day, and part of the day they were off, they timed themselves out,
Okay.
so.
Any other questions for Lisa? Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, moving on. Jim, did you want to ask your question with concerning Lisa?
Yeah, this is easier. Want me to do that now?
Yeah.
We're wanting to get, the police department to get with you and discuss the possibility of a grant for in-car cameras. Would that be something you'd be willing to help us with?
Would council allow Jim to talk with Lisa about pursuing some grants? What were you looking into?
In-car cameras, in-car recording for the patrol units.
Okay. Council,
I'm fine with that.
Look into it.
thanks. Okay, Jim, what else do you have for us?
A couple things, the 27th, is that right, Bill?
Yes.
27th is our skating party, we're going, the police department's going to do for the youth in the community. It's from 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock at the skating rink. We're going to provide cookies and cocoa drinks for the kids, so first time we've done it. Bill recommended it, sounded like a good idea, so we're going to run with it and see how that works and kind of build from there.
If we can keep doing it every year, we'll keep doing it every year. And during summertime, do a free swim for them too.
I'll explain
Yeah, I
what
haven't
I'm
gotten
going out here in
it
a
yet.
second, so.
It's all messed up.
Have you
It
talked
hasn't
to the
been
school about
put in
maybe
the
getting
right.
some flyers to put the kids right back or something?
I know we've given the school or some of the flyers out and they've handed them out and stuff, not specifically to the kids, so. Next item I've got here, this is kind of a couple little things that changed on the packet that, on the patrol car vehicles that I'm requesting. I'm still requesting the 2019 tradesman. I went ahead, originally I was just looking at Marmies only. I have reached out to Davis Moore out of Wichita for the sole purpose that they have the state contract, which automatically saves anywhere from $4,000 to $5,000 right off the top. And of course, going with Davis Moore, the vehicle has to be built. That's a 10 to 12, possibly 14-week time frame. The original quote from Davis Moore, I think, was about $24,883, if I remember. I did add one item on there for remote start, which is $177. The reason for that is during inclement weather, when we're called out in the middle of the night while we're getting dressed, the officers can hit the button and start it. $177 over the course of probably a vehicle we're going to keep for 6+ years. Don't think that's a big deal. The outfitter has changed a couple of things after we talked. Some of the prices have gone up a little bit, some have gone down a little bit. Bottom line, we're going to save about $200 to $300 off of his bid, I think, currently right now. So we're pretty well set about the $1,900 to get it outfitted. So bottom line, the truck from Davis Moore outright is $25,060.52. They're giving us $11,500 trade for the current truck that we have. So that leaves us trade difference of $13,560.52. With the build and everything, we're looking at right at just basically $2,000. So with the trade, getting it built, putting it in service, we're looking at $15,583.42 from Davis Moore out of Wichita. Like I said, with about a 12 to 14 week build time. Option 2 is through Marmies. You can see their base price for the same truck is $29,831. They're only giving us $11,000 trade-in, so trade difference of $18,831. Of course, outfitter is the same cost, the $22,022.90. So total $20,853.90. Option 2, the advantage of that is we don't have a 14-week. It's actually on the lot ready to go. It is a nicer truck. Honestly, it's a patrol vehicle. We probably don't need something as nice as what they've got on it, but it is sitting there on the lot ready to go. I've talked with the city clerk. If I understand her right completely, we previous chief had budgeted $15,000 for patrol vehicle this year, plus we have the $15,000 carryover that if you guys approve that tonight, we'll go forward. So we'll have $30,000 sitting there for a vehicle. Total, like I said, on one from Davis Moore is $15,583. I would respectfully request $16,000 just to cover any incidentals on it. I did reach out to First, I believe it's First Bank in Sterling, Kansas, where the previous, when the Charger was purchased, it was purchased through them through a 3-year lease agreement. They're at 3.21% interest. Yearly payment would be $55.34. Comes to $16,602. So over a 3-year life on the term, you're at $602 interest on that. I did ask the St. John Bank to put a quote together for me, and they also offered a 3-year, but they were at 4.75 interest, so they were a little bit higher. I think about $1,000. I've got that figure if you guys want to actually look at it. So my request is to allow me to purchase the vehicle from Davis Moore for the 25,060, with the trade difference being 13,560. Get it ordered and do a 3-year lease agreement. That way we're not depleting that fund at all, but still leaving money just in case something major happens that we can't foresee.
I'd like to speak on it, because while you do have it a little bit, the balance remaining from the money that our previous chief had been transferring over, after that money that we had transferred out, because it wasn't taken out of the correct fund, was $16,318.34. And then if the $15,000 is approved tonight for the 2018 to 2019 transfers, he'll have a little over 31. And then I think he was meaning that we still budgeted another 15,000 for the 2019 budget to transfer over as well. So that $15,000 transfer has been budgeted to transfer again. So, I mean, the balance in his account pending your guys' approval of the transfers would be a little over 30,000.
And then my long-term goal on top of that would hopefully to try to get at least 2 more years, 2 to 3+ years out of the Charger. It's sitting at 53,000 miles. We, of course, we've rebuilt the front end on it just recently. So far, it seems to be working fine. I'm hoping to get, 2 to 3 years out of that Charger. That's my goal. And then that way, we're not trying to trade a vehicle every year type deal.
Questions for Jim?
How many miles are on the pickup?
76.6, so basically, for all intents and purposes, I'm going to call it 77,000 right now.
I think we've revisited this twice already, and I see absolutely no reason to buy a new vehicle. You're trading vehicles 75,000 miles. I don't think anyone in here drives a vehicle that doesn't have 75,000 miles. My daughter drives one that has 400,000. The items we replaced on these vehicles are normal wear and tear. This is the first damn time since Bill's been here that the vehicles has even been washed, let alone taken care of. And a vehicle with 75,000 isn't even broken in yet. I just totally, absolutely opposed to it.
Like I said, and I've talked to the mechanics, both Marmies, Davis, Moore. There's no set hard pass rule, but they said basically, as a patrol vehicle, whatever the mileage is, double to triple it because of the wear and tear, the idle time, the excessive, compared to a personal vehicle. And that's the only thing I can add onto his comment. So,
Are they running?
well, like I said, it's
Have the wheels come off of them?
it's still working. So, but,
A while back, when we were discussing this, after council meeting, we were standing outside chit-chatting. Right over here at the corner, you had one gentleman run the stop sign, screeched out of here. It did not look well when you had the chief of police and his sergeant running to their vehicles and one of the vehicles would not start. It doesn't look good. If that was an emergency, life or death, how the heck are we going to explain that to the people that affects? I'm sorry, Jim, but you know what? You'd rather have these police officers go on bicycles. Come on, man, this is not Southern California.
I would agree with that, but that was a battery issue. But I get what you're saying. In that time of need, if you've got vehicles that are worn out and something does fall.
Batteries you replace every 3 years in the winter in a vehicle.
Sure. And so with that situation, I agree with what you're trying to say.
Right.
But that was just a battery issue on that vehicle. That could be the same on a brand new vehicle.
Oh, absolutely.
But I get where you're going with that, and I agree with that. I think everyone here would agree with that. You wouldn't want to have to explain to someone that, well, we couldn't help you because our equipment is bad. There's no excuse for that. But if the equipment is still working.
I know when I brought this to you guys' attention back in November, the truck was worth approximately $12,000. Since then, it's dropped almost 1,000. So obviously, the depreciation factor. You wait a year or two, it's going to continue to go down. At least right now, we have a pretty good
Price is going to continue to go up.
Buying a $13,000, spend $13,000 on vehicle for the next 6 years that we're gonna have easily with, 3 years, 36,000 mile bumper warranty, 5-year, 6,000 mile powertrain. We don't currently have that, and that's gonna be the big issues that we're going to start nickel and diming us to death at some point with a 6-year-old vehicle.
Thoughts from other council members who haven't spoke at this time?
Well, what I would like to say is, I think all the main components of vehicles are probably just fine. And just because we have the money, I don't think we need to spend it. I think those vehicles will last longer, and they're not going to depreciate that much. I think the repairs that we've had are normal wear and tear, battery, brakes, radiator hoses. So I'd like to keep what we have.
Marshall?
The only thing I gotta say, I would like to see a couple more years, at least 2 more out of the pickup and 3 out of the car.
Sure.
And not only doing that, it would also give you time to build your reserve up to where we're not borrowing money. But yet, if you had a major issue, you could buy a brand new vehicle, but then if you had an issue that you needed $30,000 for in a year's time, you'd still have it in your reserve.
But we see where spending down our cash has gotten us in trouble in the past, so also borrowing money at a rate where you don't have to deplete your situation is also not a bad idea either.
Normally,
I
the
realize that.
police department doesn't have a lot of expenses, though. They have
Right.
vehicles,
Sure.
guns,
Sure.
uniforms, but
I mean,
nothing like
you're
that.
talking at the end of 19, he's gonna have, if we transfer everything, he's gonna have $46,000.
Sure, sure.
And in 2 years, you're gonna add another 30 to it, and if you replace a vehicle in 2 years because it is starting to fail, I mean, you can buy a
In which at that point-
$18,000 vehicle and,
In which at that point, you could have different people sitting on the governing body going, oh, you got junk vehicles sitting there, but we're not gonna replace them either.
But we also have to look at the budget versus the cash flow in the police departments and the general fund,
Sure,
so.
sure.
That will actually, that suggestion of the borrowing the money did come from me just because of it being in the general fund and we have an entire year ahead of us. So, just to
I'd just
clarify
like to
that.
make it clear that I will never put our officers in danger of a junk vehicle.
Sure.
They have good running vehicles.
I mean, if
There's
the
nothing
motor
wrong
goes
with
out
it.
on one,
They're gonna get
Right.
fixed.
they're
Right.
gonna get fixed.
Right.
I mean, I'm
And
not,
that's what I was trying to say was, we don't wanna run into that situation, but we need to be mindful and have a plan of how we're going to do it.
And we're gonna have to plan after we get a reserve for next year.
Sure, but I would like to see that as where we go, hey, listen, this is where what we're gonna do, instead of every time we visit this topic, it's, oh, well, we'll check on it down the road. Oh,
You know,
we'll check
I
on it down
realize,
the
like, the
road. You
sheriff's
know what I mean? I
department-
think we need a
the sheriff's
plan.
department does it every 3 years, but the sheriff's department covers,
He said every 4.
400 square miles.
right,
Right.
you know, they put 115,000 on, and it's probably worse miles than we've put on
They drive the
anything.
worst roads in the country, in the worst weather in the country.
So I understand it, but I just think that we can probably afford to pay a little bit more to maintain our cars for a couple more years
Right.
before we go replacing them. And it would give you time to build up that reserve. I mean, if the motor goes out in 2 months, then we're probably gonna either fix it or buy another one.
Sure.
One of the two.
Right.
I mean, if it costs 10 grand to put a motor in, it would make sense to then purchase a new vehicle.
Absolutely.
I will not be happy if a vehicle has a motor blown up in it for lack of maintenance or abuse.
Right.
And
I
that has happened
understand
in the
that.
past. I will never put anybody in a vehicle that is dangerous to drive, that has bad ball joints, has a bad front end, that's dangerous. This vehicle that Marmy's examined was not dangerous. They said it was okay at road speeds. They did not say to drive at 100 mile an hour. But we've really, truthfully, our radios ran at 10 times the speed limits. When do we need to drive 100 mile an hour? Seriously, we're in St. John. We spent a lot of money with an advisor that came in out of Wichita State University that said, why are you spending this much money? Why do you need that much coverage? You're not in a high crime area. And then we'd go and ignore the advice that she gave us. She told us to fix our infrastructure because that's the essential part of our community. Roads, our electricity system, our storm sewer, and our septic system, they all need drastic maintenance. If you look at the deterioration on 4th Street, 1st Street with this weather, we have other issues that are a lot more pressing than buying a new cop car.
Well,
Take care of the infrastructure first.
I don't know, the way I feel about it is I agree that we don't need one like right now, but I don't wanna run into an issue like the county did with their gear where they were forced to replace all of it at once. We gotta realize these, I think they're a year apart, these cars are.
Yes, one's
You know,
6 years and one's 5 years.
My opinion is to like space them out within 3 years. Yeah, we don't need one now, but I think it'd be smart to buy one now and wait 3 years, give the car another 3 years where they're spaced out quite a bit as far as the age of them. Because I don't wanna run into an issue when Marshall, you said wait 2 years or 3 years and buy one at 2 years and buy another one at 3 years. It's just too close together, I think. I'd like to space it out.
We'll be able to afford 2 vehicles at
Mhm.
once.
So that's what I'm saying, I'd like to do one
Yeah,
now,
I mean,
even though we
as far
don't,
as
I
staggering, that would be
I
a
agree
great
we
plan.
don't, I
at some
agree we
point.
don't need it, but I think it'd be smart to space it out and let's not run into an issue like the county did, where we're gonna be stuck buying it right one after the other. I mean, I agree with both sides here on not buying it and buying it, but I'm just expressing it to you guys, see if that'll change you guys' mind at all. I just think it's a smart business idea.
I think it's smarter to leave it alone until you have an issue that you can't fix. Just because, and borrowing the money, I'm not opposed to borrowing the money, but
I mean, I think we need to be, I think you guys need to think about being a little more proactive versus reactive on the situation. Like you're saying, if you have a $10,000 motor, well, who's to say that your other vehicle that's a year in difference in age that goes bad as well, then you don't have anything. And if you have to wait 12, 14 weeks to get another vehicle,
you can buy a vehicle 7 days a week.
well, I know that, but if you're not wanting to buy, right off the lot up there and want an actual police vehicle, I don't know. I don't have to strap on the badge and gun and do the job, and so I don't know if there's that much difference in a police vehicle or an actual pickup truck, but
Well, yeah, you get a
I wanna
police
give 'em
pack-
what they
you get a
want.
police package vehicle and parts are 3 times as expensive.
Well,
You've
there's
gotta
that
go
too.
through Marmies
sure.
and stuff like that, but I understand there's a lot of idle time, but you don't have to tell me about idle time, because I've got a truck that idles 12, 14 hours a day.
Sure.
I mean, I know what vehicles go through. I work on them, I maintain them, and as long as they're maintained, vehicles can go for 300 or
So
400,000.
I guess I can say this, and correct me if I'm wrong, council's not opposed to buying vehicles when we need them, and when it comes up, we're just we don't think that we need it at this time.
At this time, I'm not.
I'd like to clarify that because I know how things out in the world with the community get, so I'd like to make that
I think
clear.
this is a want, not a need.
I just don't think at this time, I don't feel the need for it yet. I mean, we've put some maintenance into the vehicles, but
I think it'd been far worse.
far less maintenance than what, I mean, I got a 15-year-old truck and I put what he's asking for in my truck, but my truck's 10 times as high. I mean, I put transmissions and
Well, Jim,
everything in
I
it.
certainly appreciate you looking into it and going to this standard, because in past times, I know that this has been hard to get out of others, so I do appreciate you doing the research and looking into it. But I think at this time, you kind of have a feeling where council is at this time.
That's all I got, guys. Thank you.
Anything else for Jim? Okay, moving on, Fire Chief Michael
The county has bought the pods, I guess is what you call them, storage containers off the back of trucks. And we were going to make a training facility. Well, the current location's not really gonna work out, so I was wondering if, and I talked to Jeff a little before the meeting, Lamoureux and South Exchange. The city has that lot there, and it's kind of not being utilized, I guess. I mean, they've got a little bit of stuff on it, but we were wondering if maybe we could put those there and kind of build our training facility there.
Is that where the telephone posts are at?
South of there, on the
Oh.
southwest corner,
Yeah,
close to the fire plug. There's a fire plug on that corner, which I don't have a problem with. I mean, we don't use it if we mow it, but I mean, we don't use it. What I told Mike was if it was a deal that, you know, it's fairly soft, that we could go so far as to put some millings on there to build that up and stiffen it up a little bit, where it could be drove on and stuff
Where
like that, and the water could drain and that type of stuff, and not make a mud hole, you know. I think we can work it out.
it's a,
Okay,
It's
so
the
just
southwest
behind-
corner of our
Yeah,
pole yard
Oh,
is where it is.
on the boneyard.
yeah.
Yeah. The only thing we have is we have one test well down there, and if it looks like it's gonna be anywhere close in the way, we'll do something around it so it can't be harmed, because they do take samples out of it, so.
Okay.
But I'll work with him, it's not a problem.
Nothing different on our insurance or anything. Should be the same as if it were.
Yeah,
Okay.
fire station.
Right. It's a different
It
location.
will also let us flush that line a little bit, which we have nobody really that takes water off of there. We only have one customer on that line, and she has a water well, she doesn't use it.
Well, we could even go as far as to put a meter in there so we can
And we'd have to meter the
start
water.
being able to tell what our water usage is on the fire
We
department.
just put it right on the fire plug.
I just need a consensus of the council. What do you think?
I'm okay with that.
Yeah? Yep.
Okay, thank you. That's all
Anything
I
else
have.
for chief? Okay, moving on. City clerk Jamie.
Well,
I don't like that.
let me get to my file here for you. I'm gonna start with a kind of complaint I guess I got today. So, before I begin, I want to say I don't want this to become a blaming he said, she said. The outline of this is a customer requested their water to be turned off at a location and requested that to be turned off for 3 months. It was done being billed in the office on Halloween. Whatever happened to the communication between here and the guys, I have no paperwork for. When it was, there's no written proof of anything being turned off, and this last cold front came through, it froze his water lines, and he's been working on this house.
So doing some remodeling.
Yes. He said that his kitchen faucet was broke, and I believe he had mentioned that that was brand new, and then he said the toilet cracked and leaked. But I think when I had spoke with him at the beginning of all of this, he said he wasn't too worried about the toilet because he did plan on replacing that. I was going to get into it a little bit more. He just dropped us off this afternoon, so I had told him that I wanted to bring it to you because of the changes in the office. I do want to remind you guys that with the changes in the office, Jeff and I have sat down, and there's a little bit better process when it comes to things needing to be turned off. I'm not looking for blame. I just wanted to find a solution for this current situation and get it taken care of the quickest, painless way we can.
So now what you're saying is we won't run into this issue anymore because we'll have documentation.
Do you even know if you called the turn mower off?
He said when he came in every month for 3 months, he talked to the person up front to get it turned off
When you pay his bill?
when he paid his bill. and it's not been billed since October 31st. So however anything happened outside of that, I let that happen between the guys and the billing clerk. So
But was the water on when everything broke, or was stuff just not improperly drained?
as far as I know, the water was on.
So that it doesn't do that.
So they have quite a water mess in their house. They're just wanting the city to pay for their new faucet, is what they're getting at.
I
mean,
believe
they don't
so.
have like thousands of gallons of water on their floor
It
in
wouldn't
there.
have, no. I mean, and he wouldn't have got billed for the water because he hasn't been billed for water since
If
October.
the water was on and it froze and broke, at some point in time, you're gonna realize that there's water running in your house.
Unless the water was actually turned off and it just
Nothing
drained,
was
whatever
drained.
was left in the
Water
pipe.
could still be trapped in your
Yes.
faucet even after you turn the water off to the house, so it can still break.
I mean, it could even be under your house and, I mean, the line
Yeah.
coming in.
I would guess things weren't drained when the water was shut off or left
Do
open.
we know, is the water off right now?
Did you go double check it?
I did not, but I think one of the guys did.
Doesn't the complaint say that this person
Yeah,
had to
he-
turn it off themselves?
Yeah, he said he shut it off when he realized that it was frozen and
And we didn't get a call on that though.
But how do we know that he didn't turn it on at one time to use water doing his remodel?
Right. I mean, you don't know.
We don't know.
'Cause you're not
It's probably
supposed to.
$150 faucet that, he says the city didn't turn it off, and as far as we know, the city turned it off. Sounds like to me, right? I mean,
yeah. Because when
basically his
yeah,
word.
when we got a request from our office, it goes to the guys and then the guys go and do it.
Right. And no one can remember turning it off, apparently.
The problem is the service orders were only being done for specific like move in and move outs, not
Every time it's turned on and
Right.
off, regardless of what it is.
But
But now
now-
it is.
now they are.
Anytime anything
But
gets
I'm
turned
just-
on or shut off, we'll have documentation, but we did not before, so.
But we didn't just ask the guys that work in the city, did you turn this water off?
No, I think she dispatched it out and assumed it got done.
So I guess I would then say we need to double check with our guys and see if there is any recollection of that as well.
It's probably like, it's $150 faucet. But you can pay for that stuff all the time. There's never an end. You can't go back and forth. You gotta pay for one person's stuff, not the other.
And we've kind of been in that point where we don't make a habit of doing that,
Right.
so.
I mean, I would assume one of the guys probably remembers turning the water off.
My guys don't remember ever getting a service order to shut it off. None of them.
So what they're saying is
They never
turned
got
it
the
off.
order to turn it off.
That's what.
Now they'll have a piece of paper in their hand
Yeah.
before they go.
Are we sure that the city got the request to turn the water on?
I can't double check that information.
Only by hearsay.
That's
It's
why
like that would be like-
it's a big, he said, she said.
Unless that customer says, I had a big water leak in my house, my floor's ruined, there's water in my crawl space all over the place, then it was shut off and it froze and broke because there was water still in the faucet. I wouldn't say
I have to agree with you, Ryan.
that. Yeah,
If the
Sounds
water was
like to
turned
me-
on when the faucet broke, there was water everywhere.
yeah, yeah. Sounds like to me it was turned off. By somebody.
I would think that it would freeze probably under the house or something, probably maybe quicker than
The faucet?
the faucet,
Yeah, I just,
the end point.
yeah.
I just wanted to
I've
bring
got
it to you guys.
tools coming up.
My advice
Is it
is
gonna
not
be
to
cold
pay it,
enough to do
because
this?
there's,
I talked to Jeff about it and he handed me this today, so I just wanted to bring it to you guys because of everything
consensus of
Your
council,
decision.
I'm in,
Tupla?
I'm in agreement with Ryan on this one.
I go with Ryan.
Okay.
You don't need my agreement, but
Okay. Camera's waiting. Next.
Okay. Also in the mail, I got a memorandum from the state, from the Secretary of Agriculture. If you'd like a copy, I'll make you a copy. I reached out to Jim and had him kind of go over it, and he suggested that I send the letter to the new Secretary of Agriculture at this time. So with a consensus, I will send that letter forward to the new Secretary of
New
Agriculture.
administration, new people.
The new Secretary of Agriculture comes out of Kansas Livestock Association. He probably will be more friendly than our past secretary. Lynn Rogers, the Lieutenant Governor, comes out of the Farm Credit System. He truly will understand the economic impact. The letter, I think the memorandum of it, this memorandum of Janie is not real positive, so I think we truly need to keep the heat on. I don't know that it'll do any good,
don't
but
wait to
it's not
send a
going
letter.
to do any harm, because if we get an IGUGA, it's not going to be good. But so, I'm hoping that Lynn Rogers and maybe the new Secretary of Ag, Barfield is wanting to do something. But he does work for the Secretary of Ag.
Set the last day of the
Yeah.
past administration.
Yes, January 11th was the date, right?
Yeah.
Just got my wrong.
I'd say send a letter.
I
Okay.
said we just keep talking,
Keep sending them.
you know,
There's
and
new ones, send them.
Okay, so moving on to keep this going, I have the designation of a voting delegate from the Kansas Rural Water Association. Anyone want to volunteer for that? Not everyone at once.
Sure.
Marshall?
Yeah.
Okay.
Are there any commitments regarding that?
Not that I can read.
Unless you want to show up to their meeting.
Mhm. And
Mailed
then,
to us.
speaking on that, the KMEA, the director, our current directors are Jeff, Marshall, and Ryan's the alternate. And Jeff and Marshall's terms expire in April. So, if we want,
Put it back on there.
okay. Sounds
Put me
good.
back on there.
Just wanted that. And then,
No objections?
Would it do any good?
No?
That would be the question.
No,
Would
I
it
have
do
to be
any
fair
good?
though and ask the question.
Isn't that what you said you wanted to be on there?
Sure.
I voted this
Yeah,
year in there.
Jeff, I thought I heard you say
Yeah.
something, yeah.
I got this in the mail and I just wanted to bring it to your attention with everything going on. It's from the Big Bend Groundwater Management District number 5. They are talking about like the Rattlesnake Creek, Quivira, and it's like their 19 meeting, February 21st, 2019 at the Annex, at 7 p.m. There will also be an election of directors, and we do have a nominating petition if you guys want to nominate someone for their board, or directors, or however they call themselves.
What positions are up? I think, I don't know the Stafford County position's up, is it?
It doesn't say.
But you'll have to look, I don't recall what positions are up, and you said it's the 19th. What-
February
21st.
21st.
February 21st.
At 7.
Okay.
So,
Check, I don't know what positions are up, but
I don't think this is telling me that.
Doesn't tell you
I can check with Nita, or whoever does it.
I know Fred Grunder's Pratt County locally,
Kent Lamb is
Stafford
Stafford
County is
County.
Kent Lamb. I don't know whose term's up.
I don't know. Just passing along that information.
Okay,
I'm done, I think.
anything for Jamie? Moving on, Jeff.
A couple things. A week ago Monday, I put the new number 6 well back online. They called Monday morning, said they had the stuff, and they came down about 1 o'clock, and we had it pumping by 3:30. We're making water again at a rate of about 355 gallon a minute, which is about twice what we were pumping. So, and we're down to about 60%. It's about where we've got it set right now. So it'll pump over 500, about 575 is what it'll pump, which is more than I've ever seen it pump since we put it in. Next thing, I know some of you are probably wondering why all the holes aren't filled up at night. And the reason that that last one is left is because we've got a rotted piece of pipe in there and we have a valve that's leaking. And we're trying to put it off till spring because we need to cut the intersection open completely in order to get back to the valve, because we need to replace the valve and shut it off. Or cap it off because we don't use the line anymore. So we're leaving that so that we can look down in there and make sure it doesn't get any worse. Everything else has been filled and is done. So, you know, if you'll just bear with us, if we get a nice 2 weeks and we want to saw it open, we're going to saw it open, but I'm not going to do it when it's a chance of freezing about twice a week. I'm just not going to do it. Because we're going to close the whole intersection when we do it. It's old 6-inch cast, it's going down to 2-inch steel, and the 2-inch steel is rotted about every foot. And we've got it completely cut loose, but it's still leaking through the valve. So we're hoping we do not have a good map of that corner. We don't know exactly what we have in there. And when we open it up, we're going to repair it. We're going to cut it off completely. So, you know, there's just one barricade there. Everything else has been done and repaired. So we keep an eye on it. The guys check it about twice a week. So, you know, if we got a break of nice weather and we wanted to saw the intersection open, we'll do it. But if the ground's froze, we really don't want to. So that's the reason that's not done. On one other note, I told you before that we had a mechanic lined up to fix the water pump on that number 5 engine. A week ago, last Friday, I got a call from him that he'd got emergency surgery and they took a tumor out of his stomach. So he recommended to me another mechanic, so I called and got him, and he's here today. We've got the water pump door apart. The parts that we originally picked from the first mechanic that they thought were in there were not the parts. They've changed the style of water pump that's in there and gone to mechanical instead of packed. So we've got parts coming overnight from Houston. They should be here in the morning. We ought to have the engine back on by the weekend. But I don't think I'm going to be able to stay under the original amount that I thought, because now we had to have the mechanic come out of Houston instead of out of the middle of Missouri. So it will be higher, but it will be done. Hopefully it'll be back online for this weekend. So
That's the most important.
and the engine's probably the most important in the plant. If it gets really cold, we don't have enough engine to pull it. We can't put any water in the Cooper because the makeup tank's out in the ground and it freezes up. So at OP, we rely on it, so we want to get it back together and get it back to where we can run it. Hopefully tomorrow evening we'll be able to put it back on. Anyway, that's basically all I've got.
Do you think it will be $2,000 more? Do I need another?
I don't have a clue.
Am I
When
gonna need
they
another?
used Kenny in 2012, it was $1 a mile plus so much an hour, and I'm sure it's higher than that now. But it's how far from here to Houston. I mean, mechanic came out of Houston, so. You know, these are not guys that you get on the street corner. They're strung out all over the country, but they're usually 500 or 600 miles away. So
Mileage alone would be over $1,000, $1,500.
I'm sure it'll be $1,000 to
You're probably
$1,500
looking at-
plus the material and the labor. We'll probably be closer to $3 than we are to $2.
Yeah, you're probably looking $125 an hour,
I
or
would
$50 for
guess
a mechanic.
somewhere in there, yeah. I called Farabee's, which is the company that put our exhaust system in before, because they're closer. And they do good work, but they were tied up until the middle of April. So there's just not many mechanics around to do this. I mean, this is pretty rare. So you don't get many picks. You just call whoever you can get to fix them, so. That's kind of where I'm at. So,
Vote to give them specific spending authority.
Was it that one, or was that for the Trans Venus?
It'll be twice what you thought.
Oh, I'm sure.
for the well.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Rosencrantz Beams was the well.
It's a have to.
Oh, it's in a mean place and it's
Maybe it
pretty
was
mean,
that
and
one
all
I
the
was
parts are
thinking.
brass. The Navy
We
designs
didn't
things
do
in
an amount
brass,
for
not in
the
steel.
power plant.
Was this a pretty big line?
I think so.
I was gone that meeting, but I don't,
Yeah,
I
it's
just
like
wanted to-
$8,000.
I just wanted to make sure we didn't need another.
that was one of them fix it deals.
All I can say is, power goes out, all of your phones are gonna be ringing.
At first, I thought it was gonna be under my limit. I really did, and it should have been by rights. We only spent about $260 on parts.
Sure.
But, you know, we'll get our money back off the ones we bought, but we gotta replace them with something, so.
Okay.
Jeff, what'd you ever find out about the white pickup and the transmission
About white pickup, it went into Fisher's this morning.
for a transmission?
Yes. Yeah, Troy looked at it last week and they flowed both of the coolers, the one on the radiator and the one that sets out by itself, and the coolers flowed out good. And he said that he probably thought it would be best if we just pulled it out of there. And hopefully he didn't have to buy a cooler, but anyway, it should be done tomorrow, I think. 32, it was right pretty close to what we figured it would be, 32.25, 32.35, somewhere in there, I think.
Okay.
That's if we don't have to buy a cooler. If we had to buy a cooler, it'd be 100 or 150 more, I think, but should be right in the range of what they'd estimated it would be. So,
What else, Jeff?
that's it.
Anything,
Here we go.
Jeff?
Can your guys patch streets during the wintertime?
Not very well. Not without buying that really high-priced, really oily stuff. And we'd have to go to Wichita to get some. In the past, you know, anything that was very big, we would do with rock. But I see the need to buy some patch. It's very expensive. But I think we should buy a few £100. We used to get a little from the county once in a while. There's a place in Wichita where we can buy it. I'll call tomorrow and see. We've got some shallow holes that need to be filled.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do. And
I just
mix won't
thought when
stay
you
in.
got that patching trailer, then you said we could repair streets.
Yeah, but you can't use, the asphalt won't stick. It's too cold for the asphalt to stick. It takes a special contact in the winter rather than regular summer road oil to make that stick to that asphalt. And the stuff they use is a poly type of some sort that will bond with that asphalt, and you can patch it fairly shallow. Like I said, the last few years we hadn't bought any, but I'm gonna talk to Phil. I know we used to get some once in a while from them. They buy it in a bag. It doesn't go very far, but I mean, the holes that are right in your driving lanes and stuff that you can repair them and they will stay. We've had some days that were warm, that we went out, you know, when the asphalt warms up, now that asphalt will stick. But when it's cold, if we can't heat it up or find a way to bond it, it won't stay.
Right, right,
Most of them are an inch or less deep, and that's kind of mean, they're hard to repair.
right.
So-
Well, we've just got, you know, 4th Street, there's
Yeah,
abundance of holes.
Oh,
and
there is.
We've got, you know, one of the busiest times of the year for people from out of town coming to St. John.
I understand.
And they're driving through potholes, and right north of school, there's a huge pothole. They need fixed, just something.
We'll get on it tomorrow, we'll see what we can do.
Anything else?
Yeah, I got a call about it, but I guess I said I got a call about that, about holes in the street too. I just,
Yeah, the big ones out there on 4th Street we got fixed, but the small ones are mean.
I mean, what I'm,
It's something
No,
to
no.
take pride in.
Oh, absolutely, yes, no,
Exactly.
no, no, I'm not saying that's
Yeah.
bad, I'm just saying
Sure.
this is all the same person that brought this up. And yeah, absolutely, I mean, we need to make sure the streets are in repair, but also, this last snow, you guys were out blading the streets, am I correct?
None on this one last weekend, you know, that was here and gone, but the one before, yes, we did.
So, I mean, that also tears into them too.
That's the hardest thing on.
I get it, we need to get them fixed, so whatever it takes
Yeah.
to get them fixed, we
I'll
need to
get some
them fixed.
material, we'll take care of it,
Thanks, Jeff.
you bet.
Moving on, City Attorney John,
Just that dog ordinance under old business. I don't have anything else.
anything from John, or for John?
Well, I guess I will add that Jamie and I are trying to figure out the diversion fund. And then it's never really been an issue before, but we've got 25 cases right now. the municipal court. And,
That's good.
somebody
Yeah,
pays a diversion fee to enter into
okay.
a diversion with the city attorney's office. It's supposed to be kept in a separate diversion fund, which then I always say is used for public relations type stuff. I think at one point Adam asked for money for a car cruiser or something, but it's never been a ton of money, and I didn't know what was in it, and I requested that information, but apparently it's
There's been one in there, so
been messed up.
we're gonna
so.
have to, go investigate, I don't know how much. I haven't dug into that yet, it's on the news.
And it only came up because of the skating with the police is what kind of sparked it.
It's not Jim's fault.
Well, he didn't tell me.
Bill's fault.
So,
Sure,
there's
okay.
that. It's on my municipal court. Figure out.
Okay, moving on to old business. I want to get the dog breed issue taken care of first.
On the DUG ordinance, I suggested for ID that they use an EID chip instead of just photography, and they should be implanted an EID chip, which is permanent, and that or a tattoo, but tattoos are more or less 1980, but either are permanent markings, but an EID chip is you know, some cities have readers, but if not, the veterinarian will have a reader that implants them. So that would be the only addition I would make to do that.
John, any issue on that?
No, I mean, I can make that change. It would,
I think it's a good idea.
I think that requires the city to buy is it a scanner, is that what you called it?
Chip reader.
Well, I think you could probably say that you can, the veterinarian, have their veterinarian scan them.
But
We're not gonna be
what good does that
implanting them,
do?
so-
Yeah, how do we
What does it do for
identify
us?
that dog?
Well, then we could have, I don't know what the cost of the scanner would be,
I think,
but
was it Bill, was I talking to you?
Yeah,
Like $350?
We looked at it one time, wasn't it like $350 or
Within
something?
the
Yeah.
police department's spending limit,
Yeah.
take care of it. If we did put it in the ordinance, then get it.
those things never go bad.
see
No,
They don't ever go back, the chips.
not that I know of.
They radio
I think they have to,
frequency.
I believe the chips have to be registered at the time, and if they don't, then the readers won't read
Yeah,
them.
well, normally when you put them in, you register them and everything and
Yeah.
scan them at the
But
time.
anybody anywhere
So
with a
the-
scanner can scan a dog.
Well, that's what I'm
that has a
I'm
chip.
trying to think of when I
Whoever
read
their
this.
veterinarian is that implants them is gonna.
That's how they, find
have a
dogs in
register.
Yeah, as
different
long as they pay
states
for
by
the
scanning
register,
them.
I think that's just a one-time fee for registration.
But is there like a database that they register the chip with?
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's supposed to be.
there is,
Right.
Yeah.
and it's
So it
it's
had-
national.
They'd have to have it implanted and it registered, I
Mhm.
guess.
When they implant it, the vet sends you a email and it has all
You
the
get a-
information on it, and you click on it and you go in and you just put all your information in there and it registers it. I've done it on all 3 of our dogs.
And it's fairly cheap to get a dog chipped, right?
I don't know, I've
I
never
think-
paid
I
for
think we
one,
don't-
and I'm gonna say it's probably gonna cost you
Marshall,
40 or
would we have
50
to
Say
dollars.
mine's
If
chipped,
there's
and I
a
think,
database,
I'm thinking it's
are we
around
gonna have to get
35.
like
Yeah.
just, if the chip reader?
I
The
think,
chip reader, 'cause you should
I
be
think
able
the
to-
reader just pulls everything off of that chip that's in it,
Oh, okay.
which would give you,
Well, no, what that reader does, it pulls the number that's on that chip, and you enter that number on the website, and it will pull up that registration, is what the vet had explained to me.
Okay.
So, as long as you have a reader and you can get that identification number, then you come back, get on the computer, and look up the registration.
Okay.
Is everybody else okay with how it is now?
Basically,
if you got a dog you like, I mean, it would be smart to have one anyway.
Oh, yeah,
Right,
I mean,
big of
I
a
got
deal.
a $700 hunting dog that's why I put a chip in him.
But I mean, if they want to have that dog, I mean, it's our rules.
Yeah. The other $25 dog that's got a higher price chicken.
Well, and that could be, but, that's,
I just think it's, if we're going to do with these breeds, it's just another level of protection. It's not on
Well, a lot
us,
of
it's
people,
on the owner.
well, a lot of people will go,
What do you think,
I
Bill?
don't wanna mess with
Exactly.
it.
I mean, if my dog bites somebody, it's on me, not on the city, it's not on anybody, it's on me.
You catch that dog.
And we may eventually have to get a chip reader because they'll become more ubiquitous as we go.
I would at least look into a chip reader too.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
Okay, I will make that addition and bring it back to council next time.
Okay,
Any other additions other than?
I like it.
Do you want us to go ahead and approve that with that being?
No, it can't.
Oh, it can't be.
Nope, we're just not gonna have another ordinance until that's approved. Okay.
Okay, into your transfers.
So, you've had ample time to look over the numbers. Any questions?
Nope.
I didn't have any questions.
Okay. Who wants
I'll
to
make a
approve?
motion to approve the transfers.
Second.
A motion and a second. Let's see, send Brian. Any other discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 5-0.
Good job, Jamie.
See, that was
Thanks.
easy. Okay, moving on to new business. Meeting time. This was brought up by Jim. Take the lead, Jim.
It's not going to affect me a lot longer, but Marshall, Ryan, and other people are going to have kids that play basketball and be involved in community sports. I would suggest we move the meeting to Wednesday at 5:30 or 6 o'clock. That way we can generally, they could be out before churches and et cetera, but that's just only me. And I'm not gonna miss my daughter's activity, so I'm not gonna be here for his ball game. But I'm not gonna be on council as long as these other guys.
We may not be here on that long either.
Well,
I'm up for reelection next year, so.
and I'm not running.
Well, I certainly could agree for an earlier start time just because of the fact I know I get up at 4:30 in the morning, so.
Me too.
And sometimes we're here for 4 hours. So I don't know what you guys want to do. If you guys would like to try it, you can try it.
We'd have to pass an ordinance.
Right.
What about John? Does that work for you?
I will say that a lot of cities meet right at 5 o'clock or 5:30, and that's really kind of nice. But I can work with, my kids are 1, 4, and 6. They're not playing basketball, and if they got my genes, they won't be playing basketball. So if it's not an issue, I can make whatever work.
Right.
I will point out that our camera guy cannot make Wednesdays. Just for the live feed.
I'll point out that it doesn't really matter. My schedule is hectic anyway. I have meetings 5, 6 times a month. I've got 3 kids playing sports Monday through Sunday. When I got on the council, it was always first and third Tuesday at 7 o'clock, and you know, I pick and choose. If I wanted to do attend my kids' sports, that's what I go and do.
Sure.
I try not to make a habit of missing council because it's important.
Well, but also we always, there's been times where multiple people are missing. We put off important decisions because we want a full council. And again, that's not, I get is where, people want to be with family and as you should. But also than that, the people who put us there to make decisions, putting off important decisions too. So I would at least say if we're, if you're open to trying something, why not continue the Tuesday, the first and third Tuesday, but make it a, 5:30 or something to try a time difference, see if that helps. And even at that point, when you go, well, I kind of like this 5:30, let's do it at 5:30 on Wednesday then. I mean, yeah, there are a few little bumps that we've got to take, but I know of other cities that I've reached out to, they have recently tried that, and they liked it. And so, which it's easy to do, we just have to draft and
Well,
change.
once you have kids in school, every night's occupied but Wednesday.
Sure.
And you all are going to have kids in school, you already do, you already have active kids. And if your kids are sweating, they're in a lot less trouble.
I'll just exclude myself for you.
So,
I
You
just
do
know
whatever you
earlier
want to.
times, I mean, during the winter, it's fine for me. During the summer,
you're gonna be here dark 30.
you know, I mean, I do have a business that I would like to try to keep running. And-
Sure.
And I do
Yeah.
make time
You
during
don't
the
have to change the
summertime.
rules, it's just been brought up as a thing to possibly change the rules.
I'm okay with Tuesday nights at 7.
So am I. I don't have a problem
I mean,
when it's things like that, what you're talking about, Jim. I don't have a problem with that, but I'd rather just leave it the way it is.
It's fine.
and my thing is if there's gonna be too many of us gone, you ain't gonna have a meeting anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, we'll have to reschedule it for another date and time.
Sure.
One meeting a month?
I'd still like to explore the earlier meeting time,
Well, I mean, where I have a problem with
even if
that-
it were at 6:30. You know, getting us started just a little bit earlier, because also our people who work all day, and Jamie especially, you know, go home for an hour or two and come back and have to be here all evening. I mean, you know, just trying to think of those people too, so even if it's a 30-minute change or something, maybe that would be helpful to others. I don't know. Again, you don't have to change the rules, it's just been brought up, so.
As far as right now, it works for me, you know, be it 3-4 years before it affects me on Tuesday night. So,
Mark that down on your calendar, revisit.
if I'm still here.
If you're still here.
What can change in
Yeah,
4 years?
well, you know, just pass something really, really important and then they won't vote for you. Okay.
I say leave it how it is for now.
That's how I feel.
Okay. Trash dumpster.
Okay, so I put this on the agenda again because I have noticed that every like 7 to 10 days here the last month we've been having to dump the dumpster, and it's getting ridiculous. There's things in there that aren't supposed to be in there. People are just abusing it, and it's costing us more money. I mean, they're throwing cardboard boxes in there. Yeah, I mean, we have a place for cardboard boxes. We don't need to be paying $300 for a dumpster to be dumped
There's trash in it.
that has trash in it. And it's time, I feel like, that we need to decide if we're gonna keep it, if we're gonna enforce it a little bit better, if we're gonna have them pay $1. I mean, it's to the point where people are taking entire like they're taking stuff that could be going to the county dump, that should be going to the county dump, to the dumpster instead of, I mean, it's just being misused, and I would like something to be done or looked into a little bit further to get it taken care of, because that fund is being depleted.
It's being,
What's it costing?
And it averages about $300 a dump.
It's like $900 a month, I think. is
So
we
what
talked
if we
about
added
all
that extra fee to the trash disposal service for it? Because if it's getting a dumpster, it's not out in our county roads.
And I do think it
That
is.
was my whole thing, adding $1 to it, not to pay for it, but to help recover some of the cost to all
it's
the
a
utilities.
service. See, here's the thing, we're a business, we're not in the business of community service. We want our town to be clean so that we don't have junk
Right.
to clean up like junk houses, but also the people have to pay for the services that we provide and we can't afford it. And the cost gets passed on to the people of the town. If they don't want their neighbors shit in their yard,
I'm not even asking for the
Yeah.
citizens to pay for it 100%.
I know, but I
mean, it
everybody
would
looks at
affect
the city
me
as a
more than,
community service and we're not a community service,
Right.
we're a business.
it would affect me more than it would a normal person.
Sure. But it's
I
just,
got 3 utility bills. I'm willing to pay $36 a year to have that dumpster down there.
well, 'cause
I would
then,
pay
you know,
$72 a year. I don't care.
right.
And I think it has helped clean up some of the people's complaints. I mean, that's one of the biggest, if you see it, you're gonna get complaints on it.
Right.
That's one of the biggest things that I've
Well,
learned, but
Jeff, your spring cleanup has been
Never changes.
But it's
Yeah.
not been as bad. Was it not as bad last year with the dumpster?
I think the guy said that last year was a little bit better.
Yeah, it was better. I mean,
I think-
we still haul for 4 days straight, the
Sure.
way you look at it, but, you
It
know,
just seems like
I
there's not as
understand
much
both
out
sides of that
there.
picture too,
Looking
but
at it.
I also see like Marshall that I would rather pay $1 or $2 a month to not have to pick it up in somebody's alley
Right.
or on the street, you know? I mean, it's, I can tell you that the streets are cleaner.
Yeah.
But it is a mess. I mean, we went down there, we've tarped it down because the wind was sucking stuff out of there, and there's been cardboard, and there's been bags, and there's been, but you know, if we had to monitor it every day, I'd have to stick somebody down there every morning to run through the tape, see who dumped it the night before. I mean, you know, we've got a camera out there, but it doesn't seem to, if they're gonna throw something in, you're not gonna stop them.
Well, we need
I
to,
would increase their trash fee.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I don't know. $1 probably would.
I mean,
Even
$1,
$2
it's about
isn't too
800
out of
bucks.
line, but
Yeah, we send it
the problem
about
is the
800
county
bucks.
landfill has got such weird hours. If you work for
Yeah,
11,
yeah, I
it's
mean-
hard
Well,
to take
11 to
stuff
3
out.
is kinda hard to hit, you know?
or
Yeah, I mean,
one
maybe
Saturday a month or something,
sometimes,
8 to noon.
yeah,
Yeah, so, I mean, it's a thing where it's been a
It's super
nice
nice
service,
to have
but
it down there.
you want the service, you have to pay for it. You wanna live in a clean community that we're doing something to try to add another service for people. If you don't use it, you don't use it, but then you don't have to look at your neighbor's crap. Go live in a town like, well, just pick one.
Jeff, what did
See
it
their
cost to
crap.
clean up that house on First Street when you guys hauled all that stuff to landfill? Do you remember? Couple $100?
Oh, yeah, not much more than that, I suppose.
I mean, that's the city spending tax dollars right there cleaning up a property that's.
I mean, we're gonna have to pay for it when we tear this little house down here too. I mean, and we'll spend a couple $100 on it. But, you know, we could probably get a dumpster, we might get it all in a dumpster,
Which,
but
you know, $1.
the hours, like you say, the hours are tough to hit. I mean, it just,
$800 every month that we'll have. It's $1.
That was my suggestion from the get-go, was adding $1 to all the utility bills for it. to
And when I
help-
did
Help cover it.
I did that poll and it was, I just looked it up the other day. It was like was it 52 to 46 or,
Yeah.
it was, I mean, it was pretty close to half and half. I mean, you have
If you
your,
take out the people who don't live here, then it was probably 50-50.
well, then there's that.
Talked to a lot of people that enjoy having it, you know, it's pretty convenient on weekends when you're cleaning out stuff or on holidays.
I've never had anyone physically voice to me that they were against it.
Oh, I did. I've had plenty of them.
I've had to send guys down on the weekend and mash it down because the wind would come up and it'd be overfull, you know, to keep it from going halfway to Iuka.
I guess the other thing we could do is we could put a fence clear around it and lock it up, and they can only use it during business hours.
And you could charge
Or
them.
they could call the police department after hours, and the police could go down and unlock it, because that's what the city of Stafford had to end up doing. They moved it into their down at their power plant, locked it.
Well, and my thing isn't so much as people using it, but it's the ability to pay for it, the money. It's
Well, I
the
think the
funds
thing
depleting
is
as well.
I don't think you would get all the trash that should
Sure.
go to trash
Sure.
that they pay for every month.
But there's still a cost to it as well. So,
Right.
I mean, it would help on both ends. So, I mean, I don't know.
But then you got the expense of putting it behind a locked fence.
Sure.
What is the total trash figure right now that each customer pays, $21.50 or?
21.25, maybe it is 21.50. I think it's
You
21.25.
can't add it to mine because I don't pay the city for my trash, because I have a dumpster myself.
Let's see, commercial.
That's why I said you would
You
add
lock-
it
you
to
lock
a
it out,
city.
or-
Just add another line on the bill itself as a charge, or what? Don't do that. I already have enough people that complain. It's not the electricity that gets me. It's all that other crap they put on there. Oh, you mean your sewer and your storm sewer and all the stuff that you enjoy, so you don't have to live in filth? Come on, people.
You know, the majority of people that I've spoken with, they don't have a problem. They actually like the dumpster. They wouldn't have a problem with, paying an extra $1. But there are still some out there that you mention it, they don't like it, so no matter what
They might
we
free
do,
up-
they're
You're not gonna
we're gonna
please
get
everybody.
it. Exactly.
Well, it might free up your Tuesday nights.
I just don't. No matter
Jeff,
what
do you have a camera pointing directly at the dumpster?
Yes, we do.
But
Yeah,
like
but
he
are we
said,
gonna
if,
pay somebody $15 an
No,
hour?
it's on the
But the only time we ever look at it is if we see something in there that we don't want in there, like tires or something like that, you know?
I'd say put another.
But the problem is we have to set somebody there and they have to run back through that camera,
But
you
it's
know,
not
especially if
just,
it's a
Create a
weekend.
fancy name for it.
It might take quite a while, and I'm paying somebody to sit there and chase it back, but I
But they
mean, I
have
don't
a-
mind doing it.
the
but-
When
cameras
people ask
with-
what it is, you tell them.
if it's pointing like
You have a
right at the
dumpster down there
dumpster and where the
that's-
cops
you
drive to
have
the
availability
gate,
as a
to the
citizen,
dog
you
deal,
pay a bill, you can use it.
one that operates
It's a
under
dollar.
motion, and that would take away a lot of the
Use it or don't
time
use
that
it,
you guys would be
have that
sitting there.
availability to you.
So I think a motion
Our
sends a-
system's not designed that way. I mean, it could be, but at this point in time, it's not.
I just-
It captures in seconds.
I would motion for $1 on each individual's city bill per month for usage of dumpster. Does that sound right?
Mhm. Do we need a name for that line item, or, I don't know, the billing person?
I think we probably have to adopt an ordinance.
yeah, I think we're gonna have to.
Was a charge?
Dan,
It was gonna be that easy.
I'll put it on my list.
Because you have your ordinances specifically, and I can't remember, most of them probably say that you can increase by resolution the amounts. I don't remember if any of them utilities anymore, if they're set by ordinance, if that's all fixed.
Honestly,
Do we
I'm
need
What's
an
the
ordinance
fund
to
that
increase
comes
our
out of?
utility rate?
Oh, yeah.
Well, the
What, that
ordinance
we pay
book
it out
should
of?
say that
Trash.
you're allowed to adopt a
Is it just out of the
resolution.
trash fund?
To
Increase the
increase.
rates, increase the rates from time to time.
I think
Yeah,
it's.
we can't just make a,
Then they
we
don't-
can't make a motion here on a Tuesday night to increase utility rates
So
or
it just
anything.
comes out.
Darn, I wouldn't go 25%.
Yes, we would need to.
Yep.
We can't increase the trash fee, dumping fee $1.
You're not-
Establish a dumping fee.
So your motion
You're
can be
not-
for John and I to look into adding $1 to the bill. Let's solve that real quick.
Well, if you're gonna get John involved, that'd make that $2.
Something needs to be done. It's a nice service, but people have to pay for their service. We don't give their electricity
So I guess we
away
don't
for
really
free.
need a motion, that's the
I
consensus
just need to be
that,
directed to do something.
that we'll look into.
Consider yourself directed.
Fire training.
Ching, 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 ching.
That's costing us money anyway.
It's still gonna cost the city money.
Yeah.
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 That's what
If you're
people need to
spending-
understand. It's still gonna cost the city money. We're not trying to recoup all of it.
Well, no, and we're taking that money from the citizens anyway on the back. I mean, whatever way you
They're
look at it,
paying
it's their
for it
money.
one way or another.
Every time we write the
I
$300.
know I pick
check.
up a lot of trash in the country that gets hauled out from towns and dumped in ditches.
I don't know if you guys are listening, but I was telling Jeff, as far as keeping track of people there, you know, we do have a system that records all the time. I think it'd be good to have them check with Golden Belt about a motion sensor going. That way it clicks down the time that somebody
It's
would be
only there
sitting
a
there.
certain time.
Here's the
Thank
rebuttal
you,
to
Josh.
that though. See, it depends on where the dumpster's set. When they pick one up, they slide another one off. Sometimes they're clear back behind the well house.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're clear back over here by the garage. It just depends, you know? And it depends on how muddy it is. So the camera's not always looking at it. We try to keep it that way, but sometimes it doesn't work.
Okay, moving on.
Okay, I need approval for the cereal malt beverage license for El Parlito.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Dorn and Sanders. Any other discussion? I can't talk. All in favor? All opposed? Carries 5-0. Okay, moving on to 2019 swimming pool manager.
Stephanie emailed me and just brought it to my, like, she wanted to know if, she was gonna be the sole choice of the swimming pool manager or if we were gonna be looking. She wanted to kind of get started on things. I have a list, of some stuff to go over with Jeff that I haven't been able to catch him. But, she just wanted to try to get it taken care of sooner than later with, she knows how crazy Jubilee time gets when we're trying to open the swimming pool, so. she
For the
wanted-
sake of,
For the sake of Jamie's sanity, she emailed me this week.
for the
so.
sake of my sanity and everybody else's, I know we have 4 executive sessions on there, but I would like to discuss that employee.
I don't think she thinks she's a contractor.
Do what?
She's not an employee.
Isn't she an employee?
I don't know.
She's always been treated as a contractor.
Yeah,
Really?
we're contracted so much every year.
Okay.
It's not set, it's a set amount.
Okay, well, I would say that you need to open it up to anybody that wants to do it. If she wants to do it again, then we need to have her put in an application for it. Run through the process, look at the applicants and you know, I just know there were some issues in the past and see if we have a right fit for it.
I don't care what we do.
I guess I haven't heard any bad things.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything.
Well, I know we had said at one point when we were discussing swimming pool stuff last season that we were going to revisit issues when the time came. That was, I believe, Marshall's solution at that time. So,
I think that was, I mean, as far as fixing the money pit that
well,
people
but
swim in.
also other things too. So, I don't know, what do you want to do? You want to contract her back in for another season, or do you want to open it up to applicants, or what do you want to do?
I mean, I haven't heard anything bad. I just assume keep her because it's nice to have somebody that's taking it that serious to like
Absolutely.
reach out to us this early.
It's not an easy job. to
I'm
find.
just the
Keep someone
messenger.
around in the summer.
The
it's
issues that we had were the lack of communication between employees. Like, we need to be more assertive on, here, swimming pool manager, this is who you report to, this is what needs done.
Right.
Instead of, I don't really know who to talk to, so I'm just gonna go talk to the city clerk, and then the city clerk's gonna go to the person who thinks she needs to. It needs to be, this is who takes care of the pool, this is who the pool manager needs to report to, and that's gonna solve most of the issues.
Well, I would say that would fall under the category of whoever takes care of the streets and parks department.
Correct.
That would be my guess. I mean, it is considered part of the park.
Correct.
So that would be who she needs to report to. Whoever the manager is.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be my guess.
Right.
And I think that's how it ended up. I just don't,
That wasn't how it started, but that's.
yeah,
how it ended up.
that's, we worked toward
it
that
okay
end
at the
goal and
end?
got there.
It was better.
You know, and I guess the thing about it, we had a lot of issues last year with the swimming pool. And I'm not opposed to fixing the swimming pool and as long as it's not building a brand new $3 million one like somebody else I know, but, you know, we need to know what needs to be fixed prior to it just being done. Because the budget for the swimming pool is not a budget. There's not money there to just throw thousands and
Hey,
thousands
you know what
of dollars
Hoisington
at.
did? They added $1 to the city bill. I'm serious. They added a fund to their bill, $1 per cycle towards repairs at the swimming pool.
Pretty large grant too.
Well, yeah, but still. They, so, I mean, while we're
I don't
throwing around
expect
dollar
the swimming
bills.
pool to make money, but
Again, it's a service.
it's a service.
It's a service to our customers.
And she does have
Everybody
some,
swims for free, but
like, things,
everybody-
like, I'm sure it's not in depth like Jeff and the guys know, but
People at home are
like,
pulling
she
their
does
hair.
have some things that, to bring
What do you say?
to like
Right.
repairs and stuff like that. But I will be going over, I'll be presenting it to Jeff.
I would be fine with leaving Stephanie as the swimming pool manager for another year.
Absolutely.
Same rate of pay.
Same
She's
rate.
fine with it.
Unless you'll take less.
Good answer. Okay.
Yep, I'm fine with that.
Do we need a motion on that, or?
I think you do.
Motion to hire her back as a
I would
2019
make
manager.
a motion to hire Stephanie Smith back as the 2019 swimming pool manager.
With
At
the
same rate.
understanding of reporting to the,
With the understanding of reporting to the parks, streets and parks supervisor.
Second.
motion and a second. Sanders and Bryant, any other discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Carries 5-0. Okay, no other business. Move into the executive session portion. First up, executive session to discuss employee performance. How much time do you need, Jeff, on that?
Do we have to do them separate, or can we do them together?
Separate, because it's two different employees.
Two different employees.
5 minutes apiece.
5-minute executive session to include mayor, council, attorney, HR, you.
Jamie?
Okay. To reconvene at 8:40. You'll have a motion.
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor? All opposed? Thank you. 4-1. It's 8:35 when we convene it. Back to order at 8:40. At this time, I'd entertain a motion to move Stephen Sheets from
So moved.
1550 to 1597.
So moved.
I've got a so moved.
So moved.
I'll second.
Motion and a second, Doran and Bryant. Any other discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Carries 5-0. I'd ask for another executive session, 5 minutes to discuss employee performance, to reconvene at 8:46.
So moved.
Second.
It includes the same as the last. All in favor? All opposed? Carries 4-1. Doran. To order at 8:46. I'd entertain a motion to move employee Dale Thomas from 1318 to 1418.
So moved. Second.
Motion and a second. Sanders and Bryant, any other discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Carries 5-0.
That's all I have, thank you very much.
You bet.
My guys will be very appreciative.
Okay. Executive session to discuss attorney-client privilege.
What are you doing?
I'm not doing
You.
it. Oh.
I'm gonna
Sorry,
take that
stop.
pen from you.
Stop the meeting, stop the meeting.
I thought she was talking to me, I was gonna say, I'm sitting here. I'm doing nothing.
Good.
Oh.
Executive session, how much time do you need, Jamie, for your attorney-client?
5 minutes?
Yeah.
5-minute executive session to discuss attorney-client privilege to include mayor, council, attorney, and clerk.
So moved.
Second.
Hold on now. To reconvene at 8:53.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Sanders, Bryant, all in favor? All opposed? 4-1. See you, Jeff.
I'm going out with a smoke.
Write checks for 6 cents.
That's a good idea.
Call the meeting back to order at 8:53.
I move that we settle the claim with the former chief, Adam Saylor, as per in the email, in the amount of $1,669.38.
$69.
60 cents.
60 cents.
60 cents.
I have a motion to settle the, how is that worded?
Wage claim.
Wage claim for Adam Saylor in the amount of $1,669.60 to be paid out of police department. Do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Doran and Sanders. Any other discussion, fellas?
That U-98 talk before that happens.
Yes.
That's 1,600.
All in favor? All opposed? Carries 3-2.
You made the motion.
I don't have to vote for the motion I made.
No?
I do
I
not.
don't know if that's true.
Robert's Rules of Order.
Okay, if you did not read Robert's Rules of Order, that.
I knew we were gonna get 3 votes, so,
Well, what if I would've surprised you?
but I didn't vote.
Yeah. That's what I thought.
Okay, last but not least, a 5-minute executive session for attorney-client privilege requested by the police chief to include
Council, everybody, and the sergeant.
mayor, council, attorney, HR, chief and sarge to reconvene at 9 o'clock on the nose. Okay,
Second.
I was gonna call for the vote before the motion in a second. Motion second. Sanders and Bryant, all in favor. All opposed, carries 5-0. That's first one. Call the meeting back to order at 9 o'clock. Don't jump the gun, boys. With no other business, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Doran and Macias, any other discussion? All in favor? All in favor? This is weird. Put your damn hands up. All in favor?
Stay for a while.
All opposed? 3-2, carries. Meeting is adjourned at 9 o'clock.